There's a thing you have watched happen with your own eyes in somebody's kitchen about 20 minutes after the cake. A boy you know is sitting on the floor with a paper plate. He is 7, he has been calm all afternoon, and you would have said so yourself. Then the cake goes round, the icing is blue, and there are cans of something orange nobody is counting. 15 minutes later, a chair goes over, and he is on the back of the sofa shouting a word that is not a word. His mother says the thing that you and every adult in that room are already thinking. Sugar. Nobody taught you that. You watched it happen, and you have watched it in more than one kitchen, which is what any of us mean when we say we know a thing. But your kitchen is not a study, and a lot of people went and ran the study. The design is simple enough to hold in your head. Give one child sugar, give the next a sweetener close enough that nobody can taste the difference, and make sure nobody knows who got what. Not the parents, not the teachers, and not you. They ran that design over and over. In 1995, 3 researchers gathered every trial they could find. 16 write-ups, 23 trials inside them. And that is 23 chances for your kitchen to turn up in the data. They found nothing. No effect on how the children behaved, and none on how they thought or paid attention. One trial took 23 children whose parents had signed them up as the sensitive ones, fed them sugar for 3 weeks, and scored them 39 ways. Not one of the 39 moved, and those parents were as sure as you are. That result has held for 30 years. The people who ran it were careful to say a small effect could still be hiding in there, but the big one you saw in your kitchen is not, and there is no honest way around that. So the correction goes out, and underneath the politeness, it tells you that you made it up. That is where the story stops every time. Sugar and wild children is a myth, and that ending is true, and it is useless, because nobody has ever believed it about themselves. You do not walk out of that kitchen and decide your own eyes are broken. You're being told that millions of people watched the same 15 minutes for 50 years and imagined every one of them. It is a shrug and a lab coat, and we have all been on the wrong end of one. So, hold on to your kitchen. Whatever went wrong here, your kitchen is not the mistake, and I am going to stay on your side of it. So, if your eyes are working, the mistake has to sit somewhere in the studies themselves. Every one of those trials tested the child, and not one of them tested the person watching the child. In 1994, 2 researchers, Hoover and Milich, did exactly that instead. 35 boys, 5 to 7 years old, about the age you're picturing, each of them in with his mother. You want to keep your eye on the mothers. Every boy got the same drink, and there was no sugar in the building. They told half the mothers their son had just had a large dose of sugar, and the other half that he had been given a placebo. Same room, same drink, 2 sentences. Afterwards, the mothers who heard the sugar sentence rated their sons as more wild, and the gap was big enough to count. On the tape, those mothers sat closer to their sons and stayed there. They leaned toward more talking and more telling him off, though that was a lean and not a finding, and I will not sell it to you as one. But I have to stop and say what that study is, because it is the weakest thing I've shown you, and it carries the most. Every mother in that room already believed sugar set her son off, and that is how they got picked. So, 35 boys, 1 lab, mothers only, no fathers, and every mother sure before she walked in. And what it is good at is the mother. It tells you what she saw and what she did, and it was never built to settle what her son did back. So you should hold the 2 halves differently. 23 trials and 30 years on one side, 1 study on the other. I want to keep going with it anyway, and here is my reason. In all the work on what sugar does to a child, almost nobody pointed the camera at the adult, and this one did. So, put my reason aside and look at the tape again, because what those mothers did is a loop. Follow it round and keep your eye on her instead of the boy. She hears the word sugar, so she moves in closer than she would have and watches him harder and gets on at him sooner. And a boy with an adult standing over him gets wound up. That last step is mine and not the study's, and you should know the difference. But you have been 5 years old, and so have I, and you know exactly how that feels. So she sees a wild boy, and she is not lying any more than you were. She was never wrong about the room. She was wrong about which person in it had changed. The belief did not describe the room, it built the room, and everybody in it watched it come true. So this was never a mistake about sugar. It was a mistake about seeing, and that is a mistake you can make in any room you walk into. Here's the one thing you can never see in a room, and it is your own expectation of it. Everything else in there comes with a label on it. Your expectation is the only thing you brought in with you, and it arrives dressed as the room. You do not think, I have been told this child is wild. You think, look at that, the child is wild, which means you do not need a lab to run that experiment, because we run it on each other all week. We have all handed somebody a sentence about who they were about to be. He is the shy one, she is difficult. That one is a handful. Then we stand a little closer, we watch a little harder, and we get exactly what we said we would. We are not lying and we are not stupid. We are simply the last people in the room who could ever tell. So go back to your kitchen, to the blue icing, the paper plate, and the boy on the back of the sofa. Every single thing you saw was real. The only thing we got wrong was where in the room to look.